Brothers and sisters, this is the first Sunday of the Advent season as we prepare for Christmas, which the theme is the light of God. Today's first reading from the prophet Isaiah says this, the word from the prophet Isaiah concerning Judah. Many people shall come and say, come, let us go to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. Out of the house of the Lord shall come forth instruction, the word of God from Jerusalem. He shall judge between nations. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. They shall not lift sword against sword, neither shall they learn war any more. O house of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord. The theme of this wonderful time of Advent is light, in contrast with darkness. The 25th of December is the solstice. It's the winter solstice. What does solstice mean? It means that we've reached the darkest point of the winter, the darkest point of the nighttime. Our days are getting shorter and shorter. And then on the 25th of December, that's the shortest day. It's the darkest day. There's most darkness. And it's precisely then the Christians have this tradition of lighting candles. Something we call, as Catholics call it, the Advent wreath. Each Sunday we light a little candle each Sunday. So the first Sunday of Advent, there's one candle, then there's a second candle, then the third candle, and then finally fourth. And then on Christmas Day, it's not a candle, it's the sun that bursts in our midst, the sun of the world. The contrast of light and darkness, I hear so many people saying that they have the impression that it's the end of the world coming these days. It's getting darker and darker, and society's getting darker and darker, and we're hearing of wars and floods, and people are getting terrified. It seems like things are caving in, or maybe things are caving in your own personal life, and it can seem that things are falling apart. And precisely when that's happening, the church is saying, and Jesus is saying, the light is here. The light is dispelling the darkness. And so each Sunday we light the little candle, and there's more and more light. The light which symbolizes in the midst of the darkness your small actions every day of kindness, of goodness, of service of others, of smiling, of preparing a meal for somebody else, reaching out. All these little acts of kindness are an explosion of the light in this world. And as millions of people light little candles around the world, light the candles of service, even in places like Yemen, where there's the war right now, or in Armenia, where there's the war with the Azerbaijan, or we think about the war that's taking place in Ukraine. And yet, in the midst of the darkness, people are lighting little candles, awaiting the light of Christ, the Christ and the bursting of the Son of the Lord. And so the Advent season is a time, brothers and sisters, of hope. Of hope. In the midst of the darkness, light has come. Let us walk in the light of God. Yes, it sometimes can seem the end of the world, but it's not. It's just that the light is coming through our hearts into this world. Let me finish with a little story about a Swiss alpinist. The gentleman was doing some climbing in the Swiss Alps, and he was taken along with his guide. His guide was helping him as he was climbing the Swiss Alps and wanted to get to the top of this wonderful mountain. And as they were in the refuge at what we call base camp, that's what, when you do mountain climbing, you have to do what's called a base camp. They came to base camp early in the morning as the sun was rising. They could hear this huge bang, bang, crash. And the traveler was terrified by the sounds. He looked at his guide and said, my gosh, it feels like the end of the world. What is this banging? And the Swiss guide looked at the man and said, sir, when the sun starts to rise in the morning and starts to heat the glaciers begin to slide and move and bang into one another. And it makes these horrendous sounds. No, sir, it's not the end of the world that you're hearing. It's the beginning of a new day. Christmas is the beginning of a new day. Christ has burst into this world, and we need not be afraid. And so just like Catholics light their little Advent wreaths and the little candles each Sunday, may you light your light today. Do not be afraid, the darkness has not overcome. Christ is the light, and he is our hope. Have a great week. It's the first Sunday of Advent. God bless you.